Those of you watching this might be wondering, Francois, but why? Another VoiceMeeter potato video? The answer is easy, guys. The last video I made is extremely boring and it needs updating. We're also approaching 2020, so I gotta update the video. And on top of that, guys, I wanted to make sure that I had the VoiceMeeter potato video updated and made before I make the all-in-one audio video. So expect an all-in-one video for all your audio needs in the future. With that being said, let's dive right into the setup of VoiceMeeter potato. All right, in this video, guys, we're gonna talk about everything you need to know about VoiceMeeter potato. We're going to talk about the basics of VoiceMeeter potato, what you're looking at as far as the virtual mixer goes. Then we're going to use the virtual audio cable. I'm also going to show you how to set that up with advanced settings on Windows 10. And then at the end of the video, I will talk about what you should do if you don't have advanced settings, as in you don't have Windows 10. On top of that, guys, I will quickly show you what I suggest doing for OBS, setting up VoiceMeeter potato with OBS, and then some settings in OBS as well if you're a live streamer or a video content creator. So with that being said, let's jump into the first step of this video. The link for this download will be in the description below. What you'll need to do is navigate your way to vb-audio.com. Go over to the audio apps tab, go to the potato tab, and hit the install on the exe file right here. Also, scroll back up. We're going to also grab that virtual audio cable. I want to also point out that if you donate to VB Audio, you will get additional virtual audio cables. So consider donating to VB Audio as well. Once you've actually downloaded these exe files, make sure you go to your downloads on your computer and run the exe file to actually install both the virtual audio cable and VoiceMeeter potato. If you're using VoiceMeeter Banana, VoiceMeeter potato is exactly the same thing except for much bigger, and it has a lot more of user-friendly type of things on it. I highly suggest switching from VoiceMeeter Banana to VoiceMeeter Potato. It's just better, so do it. Once you open up that VoiceMeeter Potato, this is exactly what it will look like. I actually have some stuff set up on it already, but don't let that confuse you. There's a lot of hardware inputs, a lot of virtual inputs. We will cover all of that, but first and foremost, I want you to go over to the menu and toggle two things: auto restart audio engine and system tray run at startup. A lot of you in my comments have complained about having to go and open VoiceMeeter every time you open your computer. All you need to do is toggle this right here, the system tray run at startup, and it will start every time you start your computer. All right, first and foremost, I want to go over the basics of the program. On the left here, we have hardware input 1 through 5. These are our hardware inputs. These are actual hardware that we have on our computer. For example, microphones. In the middle, we have our virtual inputs. This is a very useful tool that VoiceMeeter offers us. On the bottom right, we have our master section. On the left side of the master section, we have A1 through A5. These are going to be our physical outputs or hardware outputs. And on the right side, we have B1 through B3. These are going to be our virtual outputs, another tool that VoiceMeeter offers us. Also, up at the top, we have our hardware outputs, A1 through A5. These are the same exact thing as the physical outputs in the master section, except for this is where you select the actual the hardware that you're going to use. So the first thing we set up on this program is the microphone. Now the microphone is going to be ran through one of the hardware inputs. What I suggest doing is running your microphone through hardware input 1. So if you left click on this hardware input, it'll come up with a drop down. What you need to do is select the microphone that you use. What you'll notice is on the left here, you have WDM, KS, MME. These are different audio drivers running your microphone. If you notice that you have like a robot sounding voice or some weird latency thing going on, what you can do is select a different audio driver and it might fix that issue. Directly below the microphone itself, you have the IntelliPan. This is where you can edit the EQ of that microphone. On the left, you have lows. On the right, you have mids, and up towards the middle bottom half of this box you have highs, and above that you have a little bit of an echo or brightness to that voice. If you right click on this panel, you have a modulation panel. This is going to be something similar to voice mod. It's a modulation for your voice, so it adds things like reverb, so on and so forth. So what you can do is drag this around and kind of add cool effects to your voice. Now, if you right click again, what you have is the 3D panel. This is going to change the position of the audio coming from this device, so you can set your mic sounding like it's coming from the far left or far right, so on and so forth. We're not going to make any adjustments to this. What most people do if they're running the processing on their microphone through VoiceMeeter is they set their color panel to right around that area. But what I suggest using is a program like Equalizer APO to do the processing on your microphone. Below the IntelliPan, we have the Audibility tab. This is going to be where we have the compression on the left. This is an auto gain compression. I highly suggest not use it because it's basically just a volume booster at this point. On the right side here, we have a noise gate filter. The way a noise gate filter works is you're going to set a level, a decibel level on this audio. This is where you're setting the gate. Imagine an actual gate opening and closing. What you're doing is setting a decibel level where that gate is going to be located. So in this instance, let's say you set it to -15 decibels. Everything below -15 decibels is not going to be heard through the microphone or through that hardware input device. Everything above -15 decibels is when that gate opens up and allows that audio through. So if we set it to -15 decibels, everything above -15, so -14 to 0 decibels would be heard, and everything from -15 to -infinity would be not heard. Below that, we have the special effects and the external effects on VoiceMeeter Potato. All of that stuff can be edited over here in the special effects and external effects panel next to the recording tab. And below that, you have the actual audio meter and the gain fader, the fader gain that you can adjust the audio levels on. I want to point out on VoiceMeeter Potato, if you click in this meter here and drag down, if you left click and drag down, it has a limiter filter as well. This is basically the opposite of a noise gate filter. It limits the level of audio, so I have it set to -5 decibels currently. My microphone audio is not exceeding that -5 decibels. If I drag it down, it's blocking that audio at -28, so on and so forth. All right, so the next thing we're going to set up is the hardware input 2. If you left clicked on this drop down here, what we're going to select is the virtual audio cable. Now keep in mind, what you want to look for is what is contained within the parentheses here, the VB-audio virtual cable. What is contained outside of the parentheses is what is called the Windows label for that driver. Sometimes the Windows label gets jacked up, so it might say cable output, it might say VoiceMeeter output, it might say output cable. But what you need to focus on is what's contained within the parentheses, VB-audio virtual cable. All right, so what we're going to do is take our browser audio, all of our browser audio, and send it to the virtual audio cable. The way we're going to do that is in advanced settings on Windows 10. So if we go to our sounds down here, right click it and go to open sound settings, scroll down and go to app volume and device preferences. Make sure you have audio playing on the browser that you use. You most likely use Google Chrome or Chromium. I personally use Opera GX, which I highly suggest getting if you don't have it. And if you have audio traveling through that browser, what will happen is it'll pop up in these devices down here on this list. What we're going to do is set the output of that device to the virtual audio cable. So under the output section, we're going to toggle that drop down for the device, and we're going to select the VB-audio virtual cable. What we're doing is telling Windows 10 to send all audio from that browser to the virtual input on VoiceMeeter that we set to our hardware input 2. Now, as you can tell, I actually have audio coming through my browser currently, and what you see in the meter down here is audio coming through on this hardware input 2. So what we're doing is sending this browser audio to VoiceMeeter, and then we're going to send it to our hardware outputs A1 or A2 so that we can hear it. Now, what we're going to do is the same exact thing for our music applications. So if you use Spotify, I use a Google Player. a Google Play desktop player. So going back to the advanced sound settings, make sure you have audio traveling through Spotify or whatever music application that you use. We're actually going to set our music to the virtual input 3, the VoiceMeeter VAIO 3. So hit the drop down on that music player, and in the parentheses, what you should see is VB-audio VoiceMeeter VAIO 3, the VAIO 3 input. So toggle that for the output of your music devices. Now keep in mind, you might have to go into the actual settings on that application and set the output device to the VoiceMeeter VAIO 3 input. All right, so next up, what we're going to do is set our hardware outputs. These are actual outputs that you have on your computer, actual hardware. What I have set up on my A1 is my headphones, because I like to have my audio traveling to my headphones as the priority. And on A2, I have my speakers. Now, what you can do is toggle the browser audio that we set up earlier. Make sure you send it to A1, your headphones, and just make sure that audio is coming through your browser and being sent to your headphones through VoiceMeeter. Make sure you do that real quick, and do the same exact test with the music that we just set up using the advanced sound settings. Now, the reason I have A1 for my headphones and A2 for my speakers is because I like to be able to switch between the two very easily. So if I want to listen to my music on my speakers and my headphones, I can send it both to A1 and A2. Same with every hardware input and virtual input. So you might consider doing the same setup. This might be a good time to mention, guys, if you are struggling with the setup of VoiceMeeter Potato or VoiceMeeter Banana, we offer free help when it comes to setting this stuff up. Also, if you're interested in helping people set this stuff up, guys, feel free to let me know in my Discord server. We need plenty of people that understand VoiceMeeter and are just willing to help people out. Also, guys, if you like content like this and you like free stuff, I give away a bunch of free stuff when it comes to design, animation, all kinds of cool stuff like that. So feel free, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to know when I release my next videos. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is move on to the rest of our virtual inputs. The last two we have are the virtual input 1 and virtual input 2. The virtual input 1 is what we're going to set for our desktop audio, and the virtual input 2 is what we're going to set for our communication devices like Discord or TeamSpeak. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you toggle the hardware output that you want to listen to both your desktop and communication device on. So go ahead and do that first. I also want to point out that under each one of these virtual inputs on the sound meters here, you have the same limiter function. I actually use the limiter on the communication device because it's hard to manage with OBS, and Discord is the sound leveling system is just kind of poor. All right, so what we're going to do is go to our playback devices. What we need to do is set our VoiceMeeter input VB-audio VoiceMeeter VAIO to our default device, and then what we're going to do is set our VB-audio VoiceMeeter aux VAIO to our default communications device. So the VoiceMeeter input is going to be our virtual input 1, which I have labeled here as desktop audio, and the virtual input 2 that we're setting to our default communications device is what we set to our communications audio on VoiceMeeter. Also, keep in mind, if you're using VoiceMeeter to process the audio on your microphone, what you're going to want to do is set the VoiceMeeter aux output as your default device under the recording tab. Now, if you aren't using VoiceMeeter for the processing on your microphone, what you're going to do is set the default device to your microphone device. Mine's voice mod, so make sure you understand that. Now, if you are using VoiceMeeter to process your microphone audio and you set VoiceMeeter aux as your recording default device, what you need to do under microphone is toggle the B2 selection, and that's going to send that audio to the B2 virtual output, the VoiceMeeter aux output. Then what you need to do is open up Discord and set both the input device and output device to default device and make sure that it's running properly. Give it a nice sound check and make sure that it's running properly. The output of this device should go to your VoiceMeeter aux input on VoiceMeeter, and the input should be either your microphone or the VoiceMeeter aux output from VoiceMeeter. All right, and just to quickly rehash everything that was mentioned in this video so far so you don't get all jumbled and confused. What we did is set our microphone to our hardware input 1, and then we're sending that microphone to B2, which is our virtual output VoiceMeeter aux output. Now keep in mind the labels for these. B1 is your VoiceMeeter VAIO output, B2 is your VoiceMeeter aux output, and B3 is your VoiceMeeter VAIO 3 output. What we did is set our hardware input 2 to our virtual audio cable, which in our advanced settings we sent the browser audio to our virtual audio cable, and then we are sending that to our hardware outputs so that we can listen to it ourselves. In our virtual inputs, we set our default playback device to VoiceMeeter VAIO, so that is our desktop audio, which is the virtual input 1. We set the default communication device to VoiceMeeter aux input, which is the virtual input 2, our communications. And then in advanced settings, we sent our music application audio to VoiceMeeter VAIO 3, which is our virtual input 3. We are then sending all of that audio to A1 and or A2 or A3 or A4 or A5 to our hardware outputs so that we can listen to all of these devices. Now, the reason we're separating all of this audio is so that 1, you can understand VoiceMeeter better, and 2, it actually gives you more audio control for what you're hearing. And if you're a streamer like myself, the audio that your stream is hearing can be managed to the exact decibel that you want them to hear it at. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is show you how I would set this up with OBS and explain why it's extremely useful. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is go to settings, go to audio, and disable all of the devices here. The reason that is we're going to set up our own audio capture devices. Also, we're going to set the sample rate to 48K hertz if your internet can manage it. All right, so in OBS here, what we're going to do is set up 5 audio capture devices. So we're going to hit in the sources down here, we're going to add a audio input capture device. We're going to add 2 audio input capture devices. One's going to be our microphone, one's going to be our browser audio. I have mine labeled Opera GX audio. And then we're going to add in 3 audio output capture devices, the desktop audio, music audio, and communication audio. So make sure you go ahead and set all of those up real quick. All right, once you have them set up, we're going to go in and make sure they're set up properly. So on our microphone, we're going to right click it, go to properties, go to device, make sure it's set to the microphone that you're using. It's either going to be the microphone device or the VoiceMeeter aux output if you're running your microphone through VoiceMeeter. Hit OK on that. The Opera GX audio or the browser audio, we're going to set to the virtual audio cable, so VB-audio virtual cable. The communication audio is going to be set to the VoiceMeeter aux input or VB-audio VoiceMeeter aux VAIO. This is the default communication device that we have set for our computer. The desktop audio is obviously going to be the VB-audio VoiceMeeter VAIO, the VoiceMeeter input. The music audio is going to be, you guessed it, the VoiceMeeter VAIO 3 input, and that is all of them. Now, I want to show you exactly why this is so valuable. Right now, I'm not recording any of my Opera GX audio, which I have music currently playing on YouTube. As you can see here, I have some music coming through on this sound meter. Now, I'm going to give you an example of how useful this is. I'm going to crank up the volume of this video, and as you can see, the volume on this meter is hitting around -30 decibels. What we're going to do is go to the VoiceMeeter Potato, and I'm going to change the volume level of this VoiceMeeter Potato. And what you'll notice is that it's not changing the audio that's coming through OBS. That means what I'm hearing myself is nothing. Well, what I'm hearing myself is nothing, while OBS is still hearing, or you guys are still hearing the music. I'm not hearing a thing through my browser. The reason this is so valuable is that you can turn music off for yourself and allow the music to still be played on stream or vice versa. It gives you more control over the audio all of the audio that's being played for you and or for the stream. And the other reason we're separating all of this audio into different sources is that it's actually going to output more data from OBS, making the audio quality better for your viewers. So it's very important to separate audio like this, whether you have a virtual mixer like VoiceMeeter or you're using a real analog mixer. It's great to separate all of the audio that you have into different sources. It just improves the audio quality and the amount of data being sent from OBS. Last but not least, if you don't have Windows 10, unfortunately, the only workaround right now is to have your browser audio and your music audio to run through the virtual input or your desktop audio section. So your virtual input 1, and just have 3 lines of audio running through 1 input, which is unfortunate. For most of you, that's not a huge deal, but quite unfortunate. All right, guys, congratulations. You made it through the entire VoiceMeeter Potato setup tutorial. If you guys still have any questions or you need help setting this up, feel free to join my Discord server. We offer free help when setting this type of stuff up. Also, we offer free help when it comes to setting up your stream and stuff like that. So definitely join in the Discord. If you like content like this, if you like audio related content, stream related content, or if you just like free stuff, I give a lot of free stuff away. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring that notification bell. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know I tried to simplify it down as much as possible. I know it's a bit of it's a big one, and it's a bit of a headache, but I hope that you got through the video just fine and enjoyed yourself along the way. In a future video, guys, I'm going to do an all-in-one video on all the audio information that you'll ever need for streaming, for setting up your microphone, stuff like that. It might take a little bit to get out, and it's probably going to be like an hour-long video, but it's going to have everything regarding VoiceMeeter Potato, equalizer APO, setting up with OBS, all the filters in OBS, advanced filters, and then setting up equalizer APO filters for your microphone, setting up sidechains and all that stuff as well. So it's going to be a pretty big video, and then like advanced settings and all that stuff. So definitely keep your eyes out for videos like that in the future, guys. And again, I want to thank you so much for watching this, and I will catch you next time. Peace.